Anyway, the perspective that I wanted to start with tonight. Wow,
That's fine.
hello.
There you go.
Oh, you can. Anyway, the perspective I wanted to start on, there's many ways to look at storytelling, but I wanted to talk about validation from the perspective that when we have a story to tell, it means something to us or we probably wouldn't talk about it. We want to validate or even authenticate something in our life, things in our life that are important to us that we at least want to share. This has been going on since the beginning of time, long before media, long before even writing or any kind of mass communication. It was almost one-on-one forever. When we have a story that means a lot to us, and if we tell it in an authentic way, we make it often important to the people we're telling it to, whether they're our friends or a group or a panel we're on or nearly anything. The reason that I think it validates is so many people forever feel like they're not important, they're lost, nobody cares. Oftentimes in the present time, people that get older or they get in some way marginalized to the sides of society, it seems as if they don't count. So maybe when they tell a story or they talk about their life or they talk about what's important to them, a cause or a passion or an interest or an insight, that becomes communicated to at least someone else, and they feel, again, I've used the word several times, validated. I'm going to talk about it just a little bit, and no, I'm not older, I look older. But think about old folks that might be in a home, an institution, some sort of facility that restricts their access to everyday life. People see them and they see them in the state they are and they think, well, that person just looks like a kind of a fading old man or woman. But maybe that person has had an extraordinary life, and maybe some of the things that person did in their life need to be talked about again. I know a friend that his father is 94, and he's very, very declining. But he was a very prominent doctor in Cincinnati, Ohio at one point. Nobody sees that in him anymore. He's a completely, nearly helpless old man. So again, the validation of who we are, where we went, how we did it, and how we handled it. Almost like what Ben and Julie were talking about in their little story. It's not a little story, it's a big story about what happened in their lives. When I think about it, every one of us matters. Everybody's totally unique in some way or other. And everyone had an impact that's totally unique in some way or another. And I'm going to tie this into kind of my story a little bit. If nothing else, one of the impacts I've had in my life is I am the father of 8 children. I think that was mentioned. I think Dawn had a lot to do with that. That's right. She did all the hard parts, although I was there for all the births. If nothing else, being the parent of those 8 children, helping bring them into the world and who they are and how they will impact the world, that actually applies to virtually everyone who ever has a child. For that reason alone, have an impact on society. I still haven't decided what story I'm going to tell tonight, but I think I'll tell it about how I met Dawn, my ex-wife, still my friend. Talk to her nearly every day on the phone. She lives in Bird Island, Minnesota. And actually, I know Ted has met her, and some other people here may have met Dawn. I met Dawn in a World Lit class at Southern Oregon College, which is what it was called then at Southern Oregon University now, in Ashland, Oregon. And I was 29, she was 19. And she was very shy. So we were in this World Lit class for weeks. And I sat in the front left. I always sit in the front. I kind of talk too much sometimes. Contribute. We'll call it contributing. Dawn sat in the back and never said a word. And we each had our assigned project, a piece of literature. And mine, by the way, was the Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey, which is a great example of storytelling before it could be written. Dawn's was about the Lysistrata, which is a relatively racy, ancient, I won't even tell you about the theme right now. But, so the class went along for all these weeks. Dawn had never said a word out loud, and she got up and did her presentation. I get a chill, and I just did, thinking about this. It was electric. It was the most amazing presentation on a piece of literature I'd ever seen. And I knew this was the smartest woman that I'd ever met. Although I hadn't actually officially met her yet. And instantly, it changed my life. So this is part of the story when I want to say my approach to life is often spontaneous and immediate. She gave this brilliant presentation on the Lysistrata and went and sat back in her chair. I mean, the class all cheered and everything. I got up out of my chair and went and sat right next to her. No class wasn't over. I said, that was absolutely brilliant. And I need to cut to the chase in the fact that I was like a puppy that had just found a friend and I followed her everywhere. Couldn't hardly get rid of me. She married me 5 months later, and 10 months later her daughter Tasha was born, and the ensuing 7 other children. The fact is that story, if somebody didn't tell you about it, the place that I'm in my life now, and the place Dawn's in her life, nobody would ever know about our meeting. And the fact that we, by the way, lived in 11 different states, went to 4 universities, went to every opportunity to do something new and interesting, and it mattered, and it matters to those children who have that legacy. By the way, there are many things that our children take from us, but part of it is our story, what is important to us. So I will not get into any great detail, but to tell you that for one thing, Dawn and I both love books and literature, and all of our children do. We all love animals, and all of our children do. And the only real advice I've ever given to my children is be kind to people and be kind to animals. That will start you on the path. The point I wanted to emphasize as I come to a close, everybody has a unique path in life. Every single one of you can tell a story about somebody you encountered, somebody that just was almost magical, somebody that you immediately wanted to at least be a friend with, or go out with, or go to a concert with and experience something. Every event in our life validates that we're here, we want to do things that make a difference. I'm going to close with the phrase, every human being can make some difference. Hopefully it's positive. Mostly it is always positive. If you make that positive difference, somebody will want to hear your story.